Hello YouTube and welcome back to World of Warships with Wadres again. And today we have a special treat, or trick, for you, depending on how you look at it, for the new Halloween event, Stage 3 Terror of the Deep, which brings in the very much hyped and otherwise rather interesting submarines. And I figure I have 4 of them in my port right now. I am working on the 5th, which needs to be unlocked by way of earning 50,000 points in the Terror of the Deep operation. But I figure I would at least go over the ones that I have and just kind of show them to you and kind of go over their important specs, as it were. And, well, starting off, we have this little Tier 7 beauty, the Barracuda, which is not bad, to say the least, and she has decent survivability, and she does have 6 forward-facing torpedo tubes, which are capable of loading and firing individually, so you don't have to worry about salvo fire. Next up, you have the Zipper, which is the sub that you would get if you are starting with nothing else for this operation, and just you would work your way up through earning the other ones, the Barracuda, the Celo, and the Dear Falcon. And she isn't exactly stellar. She has a whopping 2, yes, you heard me, 2 forward-facing torpedo tubes. That's it. That's all you get. Best used for unlocking other things. Next up, we have the Celo, which is probably the most offensive of the submarines that are available. She has 14,150 hit points available, and she has 6 forward-facing torpedo tubes. But she is also the ship that has pretty much the lowest reload time, and she is constantly loading all 3 torpedo sets, so you can actually get torpedoes off in pretty rapid succession. And of course, last but not least, you have the Der Falcon, which has 10 torpedo tubes in total, 4 facing forwards and 6 facing sort of rear, but not fully backwards. They're kind of off at angles that I'm kind of just briefly outlining just with my camera angles. And overall, I mean, she's not bad, but her torpedoes are more meant to... Her forward torpedoes launch the freezing torpedoes, which everybody has been hearing about, which incapacitate enemy ships, and the rear-facing torpedoes are the ones that are actually your high-damage torpedoes. And so basically she's meant to freeze targets that are in front of her, and as she passes them by with her impressive 31-knot speed, she is launching her rear-facing torpedoes backwards to finish off the targets that she has left helpless. And otherwise her speed is primarily just used for darting around the map, so to speak, and spotting out the catapults and ultimately the healing base for the Rasputin, which are both important things to focus on. But anyway, that's the subs. Let's take them on into battle so you can see how they handle for yourself. Now, this match I will be doing in the Celo, which I have actually taken a bit of a liking to, simply for its firepower, more than anything else. The other one that I have played to any appreciation is the Falcon, which I do have to say its speed is nice, but if you're trying to farm damage, it's definitely not your ship of choice. The Celo, however, as you'll see, has these 3 forward-facing sets of torpedoes, and she can actually do some very decent damage with them. Now, the one thing that I do need to note is that the freezing torpedoes actually have a substantially faster rate of speed than the actual damage-dealing torpedoes. So you have to be careful when you're dropping your torpedoes, because if you're trying to drop them in tandem with the predictor line, sometimes they might not line up right. And also, if you're launching freezing followed by damage-dealing torpedoes, that can also cause some problems in regards to the fact that once the freezing torpedoes hit, that throws off your aim. So, in the long run, if you're shooting at a target at long range using your predictor, overall, if you fire a freezing, then a damage dealing, well, let's just say your damage dealing torp has a very high chance of missing the target. And as you can see, we've pretty much absolutely obliterated the Zikhosses that started off at the head of the map. But now we start moving into the main map, and things are going to get more interesting, because now we start seeing the higher tier enemy targets, which start with the Scarab right up here, which is the... I honestly forget what it... that's right, it was the Charles Martel, as far as the game is concerned. So, yeah, I mean, overall, the one thing that I do have to say about the submarines is that these are definitely your stealth-based ships. You're not using them for anything other than moving around, dropping torpedoes. That's it. A couple of them do have some secondary batteries, but they're definitely not anything worth shaking a stick at, to say the least. Again, you're a submarine. You're better off just hiding, using your torpedoes, and just trying to stay as relatively innocuous as you possibly can. If you're drawing attention, if you're on the surface, that's really not where you want to be. Now, the other thing that you do have to keep track of, if you're noticing on the left side of my reticle, you do have your depth meter, and you do have an oxygen meter. Now, the oxygen meter is pretty much constant for most of your ships. I think one or two of them have shorter timers than the other. But the big thing is your depth control. Now, personally, I've noticed that as long as you stay within the first 3 depth layers, you're actually doing pretty darn good. And the first 3 depth layers, meaning surface, periscope depth, and just below periscope depth. The only time you really want to be going any deeper is if you're really trying to avoid depth charges. But fortunately, I've been lucky so far and have not really had much encounter with depth charges myself. So it's really kind of a interesting little catch, because you're supposed to be able to run deeper to avoid depth charges, but other than that, there's really not much benefit to going any deeper than the 1 step below periscope depth. And, well, I do believe you have like 2 levels deeper even than that, but again, I'm not sure exactly what purpose they serve other than trying to dodge depth charges. You're definitely not using them to dodge torpedoes. Torpedoes, as soon as you go below periscope depth, you're not able to be hit by torpedoes really at all. And, I mean, this is basically how the mission just folds out. You move around the map, you try to move towards the objective, and you just take ships out as you go. And it's not even very difficult, to be perfectly honest. As long as you keep your detection as minimal as possible, reduce your surface time as much as you can, overall, you really don't run into too many problems. I feel very, very confident in saying that this is a substantially easier mission to complete than both the Transylvania and the Sunray Darkness missions. Just because, again, as long as you're keeping track of what you're doing, as long as you know what you're doing with the ships, as long as you keep track of the fact that you're really not supposed to be on the surface where you can get hit, like I just did, overall, you're really not having to worry about too much of anything. The only ships that really drop depth charges on you are actually towards the final stage, and those are the Steel Rat and I forget what the other one is right offhand, but they're really not all that threatening, again, because to my interpretation, they just, in order to even drop depth charges on you in the first place, they have to be close to you or near you, and, well, if you don't go near any of them, you don't run the risk of being depth charged. Now, right around here in this mission is where a couple of points need to be made. And that is, first off, you do have a lot of enemy ships that start coming up. You also have the Rasputin, which actually spawns here in very short order. And the important thing about the Rasputin is that she is actually healed by the base at the objective marker at the corner of B and C, what is that, 8 and 9? So, it's... But if you actually get close to the base and spot it out, you can actually freeze the healing effect on the Rasputin so that you can kill her much more easily. Now, you can kill her without having to kill the healing effect, but overall, it's easier if you stop the healing process first. You certainly don't waste as much, I guess I could say, firepower trying to deal or do her in. The big thing is just getting past her guardians, which are the new Octopus, aka Mogami, the Steel Rat, aka Z-23, and the adjusted North Carolinas, the Leviathan. And just overall, just push back as far as you can, because the other thing that you need to do in this area is get as close to the back, that upper back corner as you can, because it is important to actually spot all of the catapults that are lining the map area. And it is important because they are necessary for completing all of your secondary objectives for the mission. Beyond that, I mean, as long as you go through the match, as long as you keep track of what you're doing, where you're going, and just keep your ship concealed, keep your targets unaware of your presence, in the long run, you're not going to do too shabby. I have averaged upwards of 200, 250, even 300,000 damage per match that I've run so far in this, and overall, all things considered, I have to say it's not so bad. And yeah, right there is what I was talking about only using the upper 3 levels of your depth gauge to pretty much dodge torpedoes. Now, you can be fired on while you're at periscope depth by enemy ships, but the chances of them actually hitting you are few and far between, honestly. And then you have the... And I do get a little bit too close to this Razor Worm, that's what it is. But it's only the Steel Rats that actually have the depth charges that they can hit you with. So getting that close, while I was at risk of being rammed, I really wasn't at much risk of actually being detected. Or, well, not detected, depth charged. And just obliterated in that regard. But overall, we do actually manage to spot all of the catapults right before the mission ends, giving us 5 stars, and overall, yeah, not bad at all. The downside is you cannot equip any signal flags on these ships, so all of these earnings are base level, they are not modified at all whatsoever. So anyway, for the match, for my gross income, I earned 217,977 credits, 4,082 experience points, and 246 free experience points, 250,517 damage done with 21 torpedo hits, 21 floods, 4 ships destroyed, and I spotted 10 ships. I also came out at the top of the team for this match with 2,642 base experience points. And, I mean, you can see that I did a decent amount of damage to a variety of ships. I don't think I actually did any damage to the Rasputin myself. I think I kind of was avoiding her, to be honest, because I was trying to approach the base so that we could spot it out and get her to stop healing up. But other than that, I mean, 207,000 damage done with torpedoes, and 42,860 damage done just by floods. That's respectable, and, well, I wish I could certainly get that in some games with my destroyers. But anyway, for my net earnings, I earned 204,477 credits for the match, and the commander, which is a 19-point commander, earned 4,320 experience points for my elite commander experience point pool. Anyway, on that note, I hope you all like what you saw. Yeah, this is basically how the Halloween event plays out. It's definitely interesting. It doesn't seem like anything overly special right at the moment. I'm sure that Wargaming could probably refine it some way and make it a little bit better, but it's definitely not bad as it is. And overall, these are definitely some stats or gameplay styles that would be interesting trying to see fleshed out, especially for maybe just like a constant submarine escort or convoy sinking mission or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, on that note, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time.